Well, let me see who's going to be the first one in here today. Well, first of all, good morning. Oh. Well, nobody's in here yet. Let me put an eye drop in my eye. I have, my eyes are a little bit dry. There we go. Be better to see you with. I hope we get some Australians on here today. Particularly, I like to see if Dave is on here. I want to get a report on his medical update. I woke up this morning with the sniffles. Don't be shy. Come on in here. This is just Old Mac. Old Mac will stay there and talk your head off. You don't have to do no work. You just come in, get you a cup of coffee, lay back in your big lazy boy. And if you want to come and join me on the screen, get up here and be on the screen with me, you're the shit out of luck. I'm what you call your economical operator. We operate the YouTube. I'll promise to be gentle with you today. I'm in a real good mood. It's hump day. Half the week is gone. Gonna, it's gonna be a beautiful day. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor? Well, we see on the board we have. All right, Roy in Cincinnati. Go ahead, Roy. Oh, my eyes are blurred. That was a boy in Cincinnati. Oh, I guess I went over the line with that. Don King, not Don King, Larry King. This is Larry King. Well, this would be a good time for me to practice karaoke. I'm a Yanko Doodle Dandy. Mm-hmm. Come on, folks. Come in here and keep Old Mac from going crazy. The only thing that keeps him going crazy is having somebody to talk to. Well, that didn't even happen. Well, I know that goes down in there. There we go. Got my flag hanging right there over the coat bar. Well, let me see. How did my day go yesterday? I woke up and went to the doctor. Had to have my yearly eye checkup. I haven't changed or deteriorated since last year. But however, he's seeing there's a little bit of age. They call them, I believe we call them freckles on the eye from the sun. Just just little tiny, almost non-existent. But I said, well, am I to be alarmed by that? He said, oh, hell no, that's part of the aging process. Oh, okay. And we're going to have a good rest of the week. It's going to be raining today, heavy. We got yesterday, we must have got at least a couple of inches or more. And today is even going to be heavier with thunderstorms. I think the temperature right now, let me see what we got all up in here. I'm sure people in Wisconsin are going to be really impressed with my temperature. It don't even feel cool this morning, so I think the temperature is going to be up. I'm making a guess. I'm going to say it's going to be 51 degrees at 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:10. I'm just guessing, 51. Hey, there's my sister. It is 50 degrees. Look here. I know my body temperature. There's the temperature right there, 50 degrees. Well, I'm hoping Joyce is doing fine. Let me see, Kent. Oh, Kent's weather is never all that good this time of the year. I think they've been having some ice and a little bit of everything. Well, it's only 2:10 or 2:11 out there on the coast. So Joyce she's got still a ways to go before she runs out of steam. Yeah, got to go today. We got to go. It's water buying day today. We're out of water. We came from the store yesterday. We stopped at the Piggly Wiggly and didn't even buy a drop of water. Whoa, 24 degrees. 24 degrees. That's nippy. You better put your big house coat on. Let me see if I can. No, I don't think I have it. Oh man, I got pictures of raccoons and possums. This is a lady, outlaw lady. She rode with Butch Cassidy into Sundance Kid. They said she'd shoot you right between the eyes. She was bad to the bone. Hello, Joyce. Look how we look alike. You can tell, boy, there's a bloodline. A resemblance. Her and I got the same size mustache. Now the whole world knows. I remember one time we went down and bought 2 tactical shotguns. Joyce and I did. Semi-automatic shotguns. Anyhow, we were out here at my gun range area, and Joyce shot the gun, and it kicked her head back like this when it was 12 gauge, and when she pulled that trigger, her head was the blast was blowing her head back. I got a video of that. I tell you. Well, we certainly got some good laughs with that one. Family members that knew her head was just a rocket. I think she shot every kind of gun. Yeah, she shot the AK-47s. We bought a bunch of AK-47s. Hey, Looney Shrooms. Oh man, life is letting me be here. I'll be 85 this spring or in June, and when I was born in 1940, who would have ever believed I would be sitting here transmitting a video of myself all the way to Australia? Now that's hard to believe for sure, but there we are. There you are. Got my sister in here. Yeah, I was when my sister was shooting her new shotgun, when her head was rocking, I was behind her in case it knocked her over backwards. We were shooting 3-inch magnums, and we were shooting double aught buckshot. Oh, I'm gonna tell you. Let me tell you my TV experience. Joyce may have experienced some of this too. I don't, not as much as we would have, but on in Alabama, they got their TV, the first TV there at the furniture store where they sold the TVs. It was like a 12-inch screen, and it was at Bill Billingsley's furniture store in Blossburg, Alabama. And every Friday night, he would turn the TV around to the front of the street. And all the coal miners would go up there at Friday night, and they had a thing called Gillette Cavalcade of Stars. And there were boxers, Kid Gavilan, Bobo Oatsland, and all them old fighters. And they would be in there, and all the coal miners would be outside shadow boxing, as them guys throwing punches. And because we just lived in a world where violence was commonplace, a lot of Irish people, and you get a bunch of Irish people around, and they're going to be some violence. And all of them had a pickaxe on them and a hammer, and that's just the way life was. But we'd go down there, we'd be little old boys. In 1952, I was only 12 years of age. But I would get in there, and my old coal miners be, ducking and weaving and bobbing, and coughing and spitting and smoking. They'd be smoking cigarettes, and yeah. Oh hell, coal miner. Kind of, I always thought of coal mining people very much like the outback people of Australia. More rugged. I'm not rugged. You look at me, I'm a little soft guy, but I was born in a rugged time. Uh, I probably would have been rugged had I had continued to work like we did back in those days. But I ended up in an office. I ended up in the soft end of life, and didn't have to do any manual labor. I wasn't allowed to do any work for 30 years. It would be against the union rules. I couldn't even lift if I had a blueprint that had to be carried from one building to another, they called an expediter and he would take the blueprint. I wasn't allowed to carry it. It wasn't my job. That was the laboring union. So I spent 30 years with doing that. And her husband, Joyce's husband, he spent time down there too. He got in almost as many years as I did. Adelaide, I love Adelaide. You know what I like about Adelaide? There in Australia, you've got a car community in Adelaide. Adelaide has a real street ride. My sister there, I took I took my sister there for a ride in my street ride. I built a street ride, 650 horsepower, 502 cubic inch big block Chevy in a 68 GMC short wheelbase little pickup truck. Um, my gosh, that thing was awesome. It had 605 foot-pounds of torque and had a 4L60. In those days, 4L60 is all they had. That was the best you could get at that time. It was a soda transmission. Soda, for anybody that knows anything about racing, soda has shot put input shaft and heavy Kevlar clutches and stuff to make it real aggressive when it comes through the shift, and it can hold 1,500 horsepower. And it was a specially built 4L60. Yeah. So Adelaide is one of the prominent cities in Australia for its car collection, car builders. We we took up we let's see we run we went to the Good Guys show. Good Guys where you race your street rod. We took it over there and we run a 1104. Now this was with street tires now. 1104. I know I don't seem fast. That's in a quarter of a mile. 1104, and I think it went to 141 miles per hour. I was at the time I was running 456 gears. No, 433 gears. It was an odd set of gears. In the back we had Strange gears. It's called, the company's name is Strange. Strange makes all kinds of racing, positive traction, limited slip, and gear set was a 433 and 141. That was maxed out when we crossed the quarter line at 141 miles per hour. Well, one of the things was you did not want to go to, like, say 373 gears, because that same engine combination would have took you to about 157 miles per hour, 158, something like that in a quarter. Then you have to have parachutes, and ours was a show. Ours was a street ride where we drove it on the street, and we didn't have no roll bars in it. And so if you get up that kind of speed, you really need to have. And we didn't have big brakes on it. We had, we just didn't have the stuff that would be needed to go that fast. Well, I brought it down here to Alabama. I trailered it down here, and I believe my sister. No, was she with me? No, my mother. She came with me from Washington in the big truck. We rented a Ryder truck and 28 footer, and behind that we had a car trailer. And when we got down here in Alabama, we have 93 octane at the Union 76 at the time, had 93, 94 octane gasoline, which made that engine run. Because up in Washington, they had 90 octane, but it was oxygenated gas. In other words, for the environmental stuff, it was the water, the air ratio was a lot different, and you never could extract the horsepower out of the engine with that. Well, it made 650 rear wheel horsepower. I ain't talking about engine horsepower. 650 on the dyno is what it dynoed out, 650. And that was real safe. That was only at, I believe that was at 5,700 RPM, 5,700. But I set I had a pretty good sized tack. I had a sun tack, and I would set that to shift at 65. So that was always safe on the engine. Yeah, I took her for a ride in that, and she got a big kick out of it. She probably went for more than one ride in it. Every time I built a street rod or something, she was always my guinea pig. Yeah, for a pickup truck. Remember, I had a stock frame on it, all heavy metal, and for that truck to be not. One time we thought about getting an Art Morrison chassis. Art Morrison was in Tacoma, Washington. He built some of the best frames and chassis, and at the time I could have got an Art Morrison that had been a whole lot stronger and a whole lot safer. But we were just building one we could ride and cruise on the street. I got the pickup truck from my brother, and he had it new down in California, so it spent all of his life in California, salt free, no rust. Hey, Ray, Moto Life, good morning. We're talking street rods today, buddy, race cars. And in fact, I don't have a picture in here I could show you. I've got pictures of my race car, the last one I built. In fact, I got a video on here. There's a video on if you come to at Old Mack, or if you come to my website, you can, on YouTube at Old Mack, you can scan down through there. There's my old pickup truck that I built, really low to the ground, 3-inch exhaust all the way back. And on the back, we ran Super Trap. The exhaust system at the back had Super Trap, big old, like a funnel that came out big like this, and it had stainless steel disc, and you make it as loud as you wanted to or as quiet as you wanted to. It was hard to get it really quiet because it had a pretty good bump stick in it, or cam as they call them. It was a cam, but a street rodder referred to the bump stick, that made the little lifters go up and down. It was mildly tuned. And there's Mr. Toga. Mr. Toga. Now, Mr. Toga, don't say anything nasty, because I got my sister in here and she's real sensitive. My sister's in here, so don't say anything nasty today, Mr. Toga. I don't know I have never seen a time when Mr. Toga was anything but a gentleman. Yeah, we got to go back today and get water. We can't ride the bike over. We normally haul the bottled water. We just go over and get like a 48 pack or 42 pack or whatever, and throw it on the rack on the back of on the truck there. But it's pouring down, raining. I'm talking about it's going to be flooded today with thunderstorms here in my part of Alabama. It's going to be a stormy day. Well, Looney, have you heard anything about Dave lately? What is the latest you've heard about our friend Dave, Dave's channel? I was thinking about you last night there, Toga. I was watching before I turned the TV off. I was watching a food where they was going out and eating stuff all over the different countries, and they got over into Turkey, and more of a sophisticated culture in some of the beautiful seaport towns and cities, and more affluent people. I'm not talking about the rural desert dwellers or whatever. I mean, I'd like to see a family what to eat there. Oh man. Well, he's got to do what's best for Dave. He's got to listen to his doctors. He's a bit of, he's got a touch of Irish in him. His mama got a wee bit of Irish in her. you know, them Irish people, they got their own way of life. Oh, they was eating stuff yesterday, Toga. I cannot remember the city they was in. It was up there, the body of water. It goes over to the Black Sea. That little canal that up there in that area, because you could see that water separation, that channel that goes out into the Black Sea, and that's where the village was. The Oh my God, the food looks so good, and yeah, I watched several different places. I like to. I just like food. I like trying different people, different kind of people. Like I went to an Indian restaurant in Birmingham, Alabama. Not American Indian, but where they eat curry chicken. Oh, and they had curry chicken, and they had all kind of seasoned rice. Yeah, I'll be. Well, I also a lot of times when there's things that you don't want to share with the public, you just want to keep it on the down low. I like those communities. There's a lot of, you know, a lot of colors and a lot of traditional archways, and it makes you think of Casablanca, and back in the days, when you'd see the old movies and the Casbah, and um, it was. I know our team used to go to Izmir, and that was a place that they would bring back pictures of all the beautiful sites and places they went, and it was it was a place nobody dreaded going to. Well, I've got a lot of things planned up in my head to do this year. Well, I mean, like here just locally, I went out and walked on my west side of the property. I went to the west, and I told everybody I was going to make a video, and I did. I made it out there, but I got all the way out there, overlooking the valley. That's the end of that was my last relative lived there. We used to have a walk-in. I used to have a walking track out there, and then we set it up. We'd take and ride our four wheelers, and people would come over and ride on it. AGNC. Oh, okay. Well, I left the camera running yesterday for 10 hours out. I run the camera, and I had just two raccoons and one possum to come up because I had quit feeding all of the month of December. We didn't feed it. We were gone November, December. We put the last bag of food in November. We actually put 80 pounds in the hopper. And when that was gone, we didn't fill it back up. And now in the springtime is the best time to feed the raccoons because they're traditionally they start breeding early. Raccoon's lifespan, if you leave him in the wild from the time he's born, the average raccoon lives 3 years. That's all, just 3 years in the wild. But I can assist them in living, and they live longer. I've got some raccoons that's been coming here. It's 5 years. I've got one that's got a bad foot. He was bit real bad by a dog or something. His right front foot is real bad. He's been coming here for at least last 5 years. So he's got a safe harbor here. He can come in there and eat, and he's still a grouchy old raccoon. He fights some other raccoons, but um, that leg is sort of twisted. It's been chewed almost in two. Oh, I feed here. When I was feeding, 160 pounds a month is how much I fed the raccoons out there. And during the mating season, when they started bringing the young to mamas, they got to have extra food for the milk, and I would put it out on the deck. Not only would they have the feeder, but only about three raccoons at a time. They usually go up there and get them their food and walk away and go over and wash their hands. And I had a bunch of water out for them, and the reason they wash their hands, their little paws have sensors in them, and in the black of night, when it's pitch black, they can touch food with their hand, and they can tell if it's edible just by the touch. And they have to keep those sensors clean. They're not washing it because they're trying to keep their hands clean. They keep the little paw sensitive. When they put water on it, the paw becomes even more sensitive. So they're always washing their hands, and they'll run up there. You can put a habanero pepper out there, and they'll come up and they can feel that pepper. They wouldn't want to. That'd be cruel to put something out that would hurt an animal. But you can put stuff out, and you can see them. They would know what to eat. You always hear the story: raccoon will eat anything, but they do have a palate. One time, one of my viewers sent me some money to buy. They wanted me to feed fruit to the animals, and the amount of money they sent there, I bought freeze dried stuff at the pet store, dehydrated, and you just it. Oh man, I all kind of had pineapples, had everything. Them things, they really enjoyed that. We put marshmallows out there, and that is fun. Watch them eating marshmallows because they'll take a marshmallow and they'll dip it in the water and they'll eat it down. But we did this. We bought the pink cotton candy, and they'll get a big handful of that cotton candy. They reach over and grab it. You have to have it fixed where they can't take it all away at one time, because a raccoon, he'll grab a hold of it, he'll run off the deck with a whole thing of cotton candy. But so they reach in there and they'll pull out a big chunk of that cotton candy. They stick it in that water, and when they pull their little hands up, it disappeared right before their eyes, and they go, "Whoa, what?" Because as soon as it hits that water, that cotton candy dissolves and goes right down to the bottom of the tub, and they'll pull their little hands out, and they know it. They'll put their hand to their mouth, and you can see the little look of like, what happened to that stuff. And but once sometimes they'll grab it and put it right in their mouth. Boy, they love that cotton candy. You can buy over at Walmart big bags of cotton candy already made up. And you have to keep it away from the moisture, but you can pull and put it in a wire net so they can reach in and pull out all they need, and they'll get all of that cotton candy out of it, but without taking the whole piece away at one time. No, we feed the raccoons. We got videos on here on my Old Mac channel where there's many as 30. I got videos out there. We'd have 15 babies, little baby raccoons. Mama would bring up 4 raccoons at a time. They're called kits. A baby raccoon is a kit, and she'd bring up little baby raccoons, and she now there would be 3 or 4 mothers with all their babies. Now I'm telling you, mother raccoons don't mess with any other babies. You know, they don't mess with the other mother's babies. They leave them alone because those raccoon mothers are so protective over those kits that, boy, there's a hell of a lot of fighting. But I've seen 12 little babies out there at one time, 12 little baby raccoons. And every one of them knows which mother is which. I'm telling you, they all look exactly the same. I had 2 different species of raccoons out there. I had the big orange tail ones, and then I had the standard, the ringtails, and they would know exactly which baby belonged to who. And when she made a noise, and she'd slap them with her hand, she would bite them in the neck. She'd bite their little ears, to make them mind. Them little raccoons, they minded their mama. Kind of reminded us when we was little. Mother never did have to bite her ear, but she could get her attention. Oh, no exotic stuff. We got a lot of snakes in the house. We got snakes. I got to look under the desk, make sure ain't one laying right there. Because if you step on them, they'll bite you. They got big mouths on them, big mouth. They're 6 foot long. But I've got a video of them right here under my desk. I don't even. But my little dog, he gets excited about them. They crawl under my desk here, and they'd be coiled up under there, and he'll reach his little paw and he'll try to get them. But he's really fast. He was. He's old now. He's almost 16. Hey, Ben. Yeah, I opened the back door and let this. I had one that was 6 foot long. He stretched the whole length of my desk, and he went around the corner, and his head was out there on the deck, and his rest of his body, 4 foot of his body, was in here laying in the door. And if you go and see that video of the snake crawling out of my bedroom, you'll hear a gunshot at last. That's not real. I added that in because everybody says, hell, if I had a snake in my house, I'd burn the damn house down. Yeah, that was when I shot. Well, there was one in the bathroom there. It was a big boy. Then we had one in the kitchen that laid across the range, the oven. He laid up on the top, and over I've got past there. I have a china cabinet, and he'd stretch his head all the way to the china cabinet. He was, pretty good big boy, and when I had my new floors put in here, they're hardwood floor under the Chester drawers over there, where the mirrors and everything is. When they moved that out, they got 5 snake skins out from under there. They don't make no noise. You don't ever know. When you get up at night, it'd be best to have a flashlight with you because you don't want to step on one of them. And we've got bats. We have caves right across from my house over there. It's about a half-mile over there. We got caves over there. And these caves are very ancient caves. You go into the caves and there's drawings and stuff, and you see dates on it. People have carved the date. People that could write carved like 1871, 18. There'd be all kinds of carving inside there. Well, here 2 years ago, we had an earthquake. What happened? A mines collapsed somewhere, and that whole face of that mountain fell off over there and took all the caves with it. Yeah, when they bite you, I got bit in the hand. In fact, it was this hand here. And when he bit in, his mouth was big, and he covered a big portion of my hand, and he broke when they. What I done is I grabbed him by the back of the neck here, and I ripped his mouth off my hand, and we picked out all them teeth out of the bones in the back of my hand. He'd bit in. They got a really good, strong bite, but they're not. They don't have bone breakers teeth. They have curved teeth, so they can hold on to whatever prey they've got, and they swallow it whole. They articulate. They open that mouth up. And they can gulp down some pretty good sized stuff. My my daughter, she came and spent a couple of years ago. She came down here and spent a week with me, and she was sleeping up there in the front. Um, we got bedrooms that direction too. Um, she was sleeping up there, and she said she heard something crawling around in the room. Now, I'm sure it was quite a bit of imagination there, too. Hey, Ray, well, I'm going to watch your movie. I haven't seen your Hump Day movie yet, but I did watch that where that mofo. It was a mofo, Ray. I'm telling you, a mofo done got all up on you. Yeah, yeah, you done encountered one of them indigenous mofos. You're like me. I talk to them. And I use the same language when I talk to them as well. I think it's just a part of the biking life. Yeah, I saw that little, your little short yesterday. I got a big kick out of that. Yeah, exactly the same words I would be saying, I go. uh, well, we got Looney Shrooms in there. What do you see? Looney's in here. Ray Moto Life is in here. Ben Tipton is in here. Ben's my hero, man. Ben Tipton right there. He's done jumped out of an airplane, and you got to keep in mind Ben's in a wheelchair, and I've never ever had the nerve. Now I've got one son. He did 2,200 jumps, but he jumped for the military. He did a few halo jumps, high altitude, low opening. But I just never. You get up there and it looks so still. You get, I can do this. I know I can. I open that door right there, and just step right down out of there, or go. A lot of them airplanes now, the ones where they have 20 or so parachutists in there, they open the back door and you walk out on that platform and just go off like a diving board. You say to yourself, I could do that. But then every time it comes to that point, you go, no, I don't think I'm ready for it. That was me. I got stomach issues. I get sick at my stomach. I think the fear factor of somebody manually, physically pushing you out, I would become violent. No, pushing me out of an airplane. I think I would probably, everybody, every human being has a suppressed desire to take a human life, and you keep that in the back of your mind. If you ever had to, this is what I would do. I don't want to ever get in that point of my life where that'd be like somebody going to take you by the back of your head and push your face onto a burner on the stove when you can see it glowing. You're going to have to be strong, and you're going to have to be willing to die, because but you got to have a love for that. Like Ben there. Ben had a desire. My daughter, that's all she could live and breathe for, is to make her first jump. Like I say, my son, 2,200 jumps he's made. He jumped into Iraq over there in the war and up in the Kurdish region. Yeah, he did. He used to play these war games, and they would go and take on these different bases, American bases, and they would jump out at real high altitude, breathe oxygen, and then open the chute at about 750 feet, get down on the ground real fast. He told me one time he did cross training in Germany with a bunch of Aussies. And these Aussies, they were working with the Germans and the Brits and Americans. It was a special forces type team. He wasn't in special forces, but it was they were doing that cross training. And then them Aussies would go down out of the helicopter. They would rappel out of a helicopter on a rope, and they would do head first down that rope. They could do that thing. He told me he tried it several times, and his legs kept wanting to flop over his body and pull him off the rope. I took him rock climbing over there in eastern Alabama. We have lots of good rock climbing area over there, and he did a vertical wall with just his hands and toes, real strong in his hands. He was a drill instructor for 10 years at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. He spent 10 years as a drill instructor. So he had to stay in good physical shape all the time. Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you had the desire to do so, then a friend to push you out, he would be assisting you to get it over with. Yeah, I ain't talking about that, but I'm talking about if I was on a plane and they decided some terrorist guy decided he wanted to toss me out of the airplane, he's going to have to sedate me before he tries to toss me out. My brother and I, we wanted to go. We went to two high locations in Colorado. We went to Leadville, Colorado. We went up to Golden, Colorado, and then there was one other. We went to Steamboat Springs. We went to top of Rabbit Ears Pass, and that's 11,000 feet there at Rabbit Ears Pass. We did a couple beyond 11,000 feet, but that was up in Washington State. Um, I don't know why I have an urge to get higher and higher. I like to get up high. We were in a Cessna Cherokee 6 in Seattle, and we was flying up to British Columbia. And so we take off, and we took off flying south out of Seattle Field, not SeaTac, but Seattle. That Seattle Field is down by Georgetown in Seattle. That's where Boeing tests all the airplanes, big long runways. So we took off south, and we had a ceiling about a 600-foot ceiling. So as soon as we climbed up off the deck, we went into clouds, and we was turning hard to the left to make our turn, 180-degree turn to go back north. The engine quit. Well, he leveled the plane up, and he reached over the dash and started doing stuff. And I'm sitting right next to the pilot. The pilot was right there, and I'm looking over, and he was pushing all kind of stuff, and the nose was slightly tilted down now, and I could hear wind going by my airplane. It was like we were like picking up a little speed there because we were a little bit nose down. And then he hit the old big starter, and I seen the propeller out there spinning. He went, woo, 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 woo. I said, "Come on, boy, you can do it." And man, that thing fired to life, and we climbed up out of the soup, and the Seattle Field, they said, "Hey, there's Dave's channel. Hey, Dave." The Seattle Field said we'd drop down under the radar, and so he had to file an incident report on why he went below radar. Well, Dave, I hope everything is going good for you, buddy. I did see you. You know, of course, I made some comments about you riding the last rides that you were on. Good. I'm glad to hear that. I didn't get on until 4 o'clock this morning, my time. But when I started to get on, I had my thing. You have to go through and set up the page. I saw Dave's channel was live 2 hours ago, and I thought, I wonder is he live now? So, did you do a live this morning? Did you just finish your live up? Oh, Looney has a checkout. Chinwag, that's what. Yeah. Oh, 3 hours ago. Okay, good. I'm glad you got to get on. I saw your house. I saw in that one video that you called it a fixer upper. When you're young like you, that's something within your ability to do. When you get my age, everything's a fixer upper. Oh, my place here, I need a team of people to come in here. I've got, here in the southeast, they use that yellow pine for your facial boards and stuff. A lot of times they do, and you only get about 5 years on the facial board, 5 6 years, and the rot begins to set in. The carpenter bees will bore holes into it. Oh, sold them up there. Oh, well, doggone it. Well, the only way you're going to find the things is if you hear about them, go take a look at them. You don't want to rush to judgment either. Just what's in your mind, what you're looking for. Yeah, a little solo, so you can be a little uh, isolated, not right up in a community, where you got some freedom to. If you want to barbecue you a roux, you can do it right in your backyard. Put a roux on the Barbie. Every Australian reference I make is seen on Crocodile Dundee. uh, don't have any actual experience of life in Australia. Only people I meet like yourself. That was a dream trip. I really have. That was one of those bucket list things to do, to go to Australia. And I finally met a woman. I think that was the fourth wife. She was gun ho to go to Australia. Well, unfortunately, when I met her, that was in 1980. I was in the middle of the ICBM program where we were shooting missiles out, and, doing the missile stuff. And I was committed to a long-term contract with a company of doing the stuff I was doing, and I couldn't go to Australia. But what happened there? We got a divorce, and she married a fellow engineer from out of my unit, and that engineer took her to Australia, and then she died. She spent my money in Australia. So she helped the economy of Australia, my ex-wife did. Yeah, my sister knows who my wife number four was. I took her to Hawaii. Hawaii. We spent a week down there, and she was something else. think I'm going to turn a little bit of heat on, even though it's 51 degrees. It's still a little cool here. Get my heat going over here. I could put a jacket on, I guess. We don't sleep with heat on in the house usually, unless it's down around 8 degrees, and then we turn the heat on. Well, how about OC, Dave? I was going to I meant to ask. I haven't seen Rod B, but I think he was maybe heading out over towards Thailand. But how's OC's health? He hasn't been on my channel in a while. I don't know if he's recuperating or. I have talked to him one time since he got out of the hospital, but I don't see him as often as I used to. And he may have the stress of going live and running his business. Oh, good, Ray. I'm glad. I'm glad OC was. Well, and if you guys see him, let him know Old Mac said hello. He's an interesting guy. I talked him into coming out and getting on the camera one time. He come out and took a smoke break, and when we was up in Washington, we got to talk to him more than we normally would because we were on at the right hours and everything. And he's always an interesting guy. Oh, what a lovely wife he's got. He's got a real trophy wife. She's a doll. He lives a good life. Except the health issue. I really feel sorry for him in that department. He spent his life on the sea as a sailor. Yeah, I always wanted to go to the outback in Australia. I lived in the desert of California, the Mojave Desert, but I had these Aussies that came over to visit me, and they brought all these slideshows with them, and they went over to the Ayers Rock and they did a lot of stuff. And, one worked for a TV station in Sydney, and I'm sure the gentlemen are gone now. I'm sure that time is they probably expired by now, but they lived a good hearty life. They came over and drank American beer with me. We had another good friend. He's gone too. He had a nice big building on his property that he could hold maybe up to 80 people in it, accommodate 80 people, and they danced in there, and they had music, and they had all kinds of place to entertain there. And my guest that came over from Australia, they went down and stayed with Jim. His name is Jim Johnson. He's already gone. Jim set them up accommodations, and oh my gosh, we had a good time. That was down in Tacoma, and they were just really, they were just good people. Yeah, last time I talked to him, he was um, wasn't frail. I mean, he was pretty optimistic of his situations. Yep, we was over there the other day at the appliance store, and we bought ourselves a deep fryer. And sitting over there was those coffee makers we always talk about. I could set my coffee maker right there, and I could make myself, one of those individual coffee things. Joe was here yesterday. I put him on the camera yesterday. He was sitting right there on my couch. Uh, I was doing. I joined Sick and Motorbomb for coffee yesterday morning after I ended. I was on the air for 10 hours, 10 hours doing a live broadcast. And after my 10-hour thing, I went over and got on coffee. But Joe knocked on the back door and he come in, and so they got to see Joe, the mystery man Joe. But boy, if you're going to have a good friend, you want a guy like Joe. He he's just a good human being. I mean, if he's your buddy, he's your good friend. Don't get on his wrong side now. That wouldn't be a good thing to do either. He's just kind of a determined guy. Whatever he gets his mind set to, he's just like a bulldog. He goes right straight ahead. And but he's a fun-loving guy. We have a lot of fun. I brought some stuff down from Washington State, some Kush that I'd picked up, and I went over there to a little convenience store and bought a little bong. and he'd had some of this local grown stuff around here. What ain't bad, but this was highly formulated, like what we used to call one hit wonder. Yeah. He's got two buddies he likes to go drink with. Me and this big black guy. We call him Heavy. He's a big, like, football player, huge, big, stout, like a bull. He went over there the other day. I was talking to him on the phone. He went over and did that little knock on the door. And the black guy come with a shotgun in his hand. Said, "Fool, what do you want?" I could hear it all going on. He says, "I want you to move your ass out of the door so I can come in." So they go over. They like to drink rum there, and well, with my diabetes, I have to try to stay away from the sugar stuff. Creeper, yeah. Now they got that. Uh, they call it indica, but now the kids are calling it couch. Couch is your ass gets so heavy you can't get up out off the cushion. You just slowly sink into the cushions, creep up on you and get you. Yeah, lead bottom. Yeah, Angelique, she went through an experience. My sister, she can verify this. She wanted one of these refreshing drinks. I can't remember what kind of juice it was. Might have been strawberry, but she got a bottle of strawberry drink, THC. It was formulated to make you feel good. Oh, I'm telling you, me and my sister, Angelique was laid out like a cart, man. I think Angelique said She was out for 18 hours or something like that. Well, Joyce can tell you she was out for a while. We took her out and went on a speedboat. This guy's got this little jet ski boat. It'll run over 100 miles per hour on the water real easy. It's got a Brodex 632. He's got a 632 cubic inch um, Brodex engine in his boat, and it runs good. And he's got one that's got a Coyote, 32 valve Coyote engine, Ford Coyote engine in his boat. I think he said it makes around 950 horsepower. That one does. And it's lighter. But the day we went up there, that was the boat I was going to ride on because he knows I'm a Ford fan. And my Mustang GT that I was driving has the same Coyote engine. But unfortunately, they'd sucked up some kelp or something other into the pump, and it caused it to lose the seal. And they had it up dry docked, and it was replacing the seal. Now it would be fixed the next day, but I didn't go back up the next day. But the 632, it's got a lot of torque, and it pull you up real fast. You can get up on the end of the end of the boat there real fast. It's a video. You can see my video. We did a video. That's in Lake Kavanaugh up by the Canadian border. And I think the lake goes all the way to Canada, way up in there near Canada. Oh boy, that thing, it was fast. We was out on the water for over an hour. I run out of video. My camera ran out of battery. I only took the one battery. Oh, the snow-capped mountains all around the lake. When we're going to the east, you can see all those peaks up there in the I believe that would be the beginning. No, that's still the Cascade, the upper reaches of the Cascade Range. Everyone, the peaks were real jagged. Up above Darrington, Washington, all the peaks are real jagged. I like to watch Didik Farm. He's a guy in Indonesia, Didik. It's Dedik Farms, and he raises chickens, and he's got all of his chickens laying, and he's got this beautiful music that plays for the chickens, and he's got a really nice farm. And I'd love to go over and watch his. He looks like a younger man, but with Asian people, it's hard to tell. They don't age like we do. They don't, well, they do, but not as bad. But he's been chicken been really producing eggs. That's over in Indonesia. Oh, it said it rained for the next several hours, so we're in for a wet day. And it's still 51 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh yeah, we used to have some really great fondue parties where everybody would gather around and we'd have all the fondue pots setting up. You had hot chocolate. You could take banana slices and dip them in that hot chocolate. We had boiling pots of boiling olive oil, and you'd take some really good steak cut up in just nugget size, stick your fork and stick it over in the pot and fry it to the level you wanted, and then go dip it in cheese sauce or go dip it in whatever you wanted to dip it in, or just eat it right off the fork. And that was the perfect food for when you were smoking, because when the munchies hit you, you had such a variety, and you had all the desserts and everything laid out there, and tater chips. Oh, we had a Lay's factory there in Tacoma, Washington, where they make Lay's potato chips. The big factories there, and everything is so fresh. And we could eat a lot of chips back in our day. I kind of feel like I'm naked without my hat. I didn't put my hat on this morning. I just now looked up there and see that I don't have a hat on my head. It's going to be today. It's going to be warm, even though it's going to be raining. I think 66 degrees Fahrenheit. Not bad, but it's going to be wet. And we don't get another pretty day for like a week and a half before it gets back up to 70. We're going to go through a dip. It's going to be down like 41 degrees and for a high. And we've already got it planned out. As soon as the weather starts here, pretty soon it's going to make a turn to go downward. We're going to make a big pot of chili. Today I'm making a meatloaf. And it's going to be good. And I'm going to make cheese and rice. One of the dishes is going to go with it. My daddy's favorite was cheese and rice, like in a casserole with cheese. Yeah, we got today's menu all planned up. When we come back from shopping, I'm going to fix us a good meal. Well, Dave, I went to the optometrist, just the eye specialist, and my eyesight has not deteriorated since last year, but I got to go back in 6 months because I've got a little bit of macular degeneration, just a little, and he wants to see in 6 months if it's holding steady. Oh, well, Joyce, well, go get you rest, and thank you for coming and visiting with the gang here, and they're all gentlemen. Every one of them are good human beings, so it's not like a bad exposure at all. I'm the worst human being you ever knowed. It's just a flaw that I have. Oh, taco soup. I've got already a taco soup. It's in a bag that was made by the Amish, and we bought taco soup. No tortilla. No, it's taco soup. Yeah, we bought this. It's already in a bag, and you just do your thing, and um, yeah, get your rest, Joyce, and we'll catch you when we get a chance. Yeah, that we haven't tried it out yet, the taco soup, but it's everything you need. You just have to just add it into the water, and it's formulated. I bought over $100 worth of pre-made soups. Well, me and Joyce, we've been through a lot. She was born in the same coal mine in town. She was born. Oh yeah, yeah. There's so many varieties of their soups. We like their potato soup. That's another good one they make. But they're not afraid to try other soups, and we haven't tried them yet. I'm gonna give them a try here. But as the weather, if we have some more cold days, um, we even bought one of the Amish chilies. I'm anxious to try that. Well, you add your own meat, and oh yeah, they got leather. They got, you name it. And this bunch of people, they make these houses, these little houses for people to live in. Yeah, I was telling you about my sister Joyce. She was born in a coal mining community like me, and then when in her younger years, she lived in and went to school at the same school I did. My sister and I went to the same school that my daddy went to, Pinckney City, and we all went through the five. There's only 5 grades there. We went through those first 5 grades, and yeah, there was some hard times back in them days. That was a that, that gives you a lot of character by being raised in that kind of environment, because when things get really, struggling, you still have what it takes to exist. You can pull it together and make a meal out of just a handful of flour. At least you can make you gravy. We got down so bad one time, Joyce and I, and my brother Robert and her husband. We was in a little. We was in a point in our life where there was no work, and we were working people. It had been flooding. You couldn't do any farm labor. You couldn't. This was back when we was all young. We couldn't. It was a bad time, waiting for the floods to get over with, and man, we stayed landlocked there for quite a while in one little town, and we ate macaroni, boiled macaroni with ketchup in it. Oh, one time I'm gonna tell you this little story. My brother Robert and I, we had been up in Washington. I had bought a little Plymouth car, a little V8 powered Plymouth car, and we drove that Plymouth car up to Washington State, up to Yakima. And when we came back, my sister and her husband was working on a big dairy. Her husband was a dairyman. He milked cows, and so when we got there at their house, they had already had a planned up vacation, and they said, "Well, we'll go ahead and leave you here." But see, they took most all their bedding with them, because back in the old days, when you went to visit somebody, you would roll out a pallet onto the floor for the kids to lay on. And so they took their bedding to make the pallets up. And so all they had was an electric blanket and a sheet. And she said, "This electric blanket be all the more than you won't need any more than this." Well, my brother and I got in bed in the same bed. We were 2 grown men in the same bed, and we threw that electric blanket over us. And my brother said, I had the controller over my side of the bed, and it had like 9 settings. And my sister said, "Don't go over 3. Do not go over 3, because it could catch on fire and burn the house down." I, I thought, whoa, electric blanket. We'd never been exposed to that. So we started off with 1, and it seemed like it was starting to get a little bit warm. We scrooched up, me and my brother did. We scrooched up to stay warm. Then we went up to 2. He said, "Oh man, I got to have some more heat." And after a while, I said, "Well, we got up to 3, and didn't seem like it was putting out. The light was on. You could see it glowing. The light was on." And so eventually, we went all the way to 9, and we fell asleep, believing that we was getting warmer. We got up that morning. We woke up, and you could see our breath. You can see our breath just coming out, and I go, "Whoa, God dang, it's cold. Hell, I won't never buy an electric blanket. Them things are sorry. They don't have no heat in them." And when we got up, we had to go in and get the stove lit in the kitchen to get any heat. We got up, and the damn electric blanket, my sister was leaving, and she didn't want to leave the blanket plugged in. She unplugged the blanket, but the unit was plugged into the wall, but she unplugged it from the blanket. And all that time we was turning the knob up, getting to get it warm, and the knob was going up and the light was on, but the blanket wasn't hooked up. Mentally, we thought we were getting warmer. That was our first experience with electric blanket. Yeah, we've laughed about that a lot of times. How we had convinced ourselves we was getting warmer. Finally, had to get all the way up to 9 before we got the heat. Never was plugged in. Uh, we've had some good times on that farm. Yeah, there's a lot of things we did that just left lasting memories. I remember as kids we had a cookout up by the mines, and our back door. You come out the back door, and you went to the east, maybe 100 feet, maybe 100 feet over there, and you went right into the mines. The mines, you could go into that mines, and you could walk for many miles underground in that mines. And we'd go up there in the summer when it was really, really hot outside. We'd go and get real deep in that mines. And one time, more than once, we'd end up in another town. We'd walk, and we knew how to get away in there. We had a carbide lamp on our head, and we'd follow the signs in the mines, and we knew how to wherever the main headed and went to and all that stuff. All the kids knew how to navigate through the mines. And we came up in a little town called Daisy City, and it was an operational mines. We ran into the head, and we could see equipment. We got down there, and they had this great big room full of mules, and the mules are all they had blinders over their eyes. They didn't allow them to see. They had blinders over both eyes, and they lived down there in that darkness. But we came up on a stable of mules down there. And finally, we made it out. We went all out to the mouth of the mines where the tipple was at. There was a bunch of guys out there trying to get a car back on the rails. They had one of the cars that got derailed. And they said, "Where the hell do you boys come from?" And then that one guy come running over and he said, "Boy, I tell you, if the foreman had caught you in that mines, he would have had the sheriff over here and had your ass put in jail." He was trying to scare us, being a little kid. We was only like 10, 12-year-old boys. But anyhow, one time we had a cookout up there just above the mouth of the mines. We went up on top of the hill. There was a flat place, and we got all our rocks and built our fire, and we decided to make hobo stew. We'd always heard about stories about hobo stew, and yeah, we started boiling the pot and put all our vegetables and stuff in there, and whatever meat we could raid out of the meat box. We always every home had a salt box. The salt box we didn't have refrigeration, so you'd put your meat in salt in the salt box, and we'd take our pocket knife and we'd carve off big chunks of lean meat and throw it over in that pot of soup. Oh man. You didn't, and maybe put a big tablespoon of lard and all these vegetables and a fat back and salt pork, and we'd eat that stuff and thought we were like hobos. That's what boys did. Now my sisters were tough girls too. Now they wasn't frilly. They could dress up, but they was really tough little kids. Everybody just had to had to have a natural survival instinct to live in a coal mining camp. Survival of the fittest. Our neighbors were Scottish people, and he was just really an old duffer, but he was the best human being in our community. He was the one all of us all looked up to. And the other guy to our right was an old Welsh guy. They were from Wales, and their family history was miners over in Wales. And he was really a steadfast old. His wife was an Irish woman, and he was from Wales. And he was a little bit scared of his woman. His woman was a pretty big woman, and he was a balding man. And she kept him in line, the little Welsh guy. It wouldn't do no good to call her. I've tried this before. She turns her phone off just like I do. I don't ever turn my phone on at night. And maybe she'll come in and bring me some coffee. I'm going to do that. I'm going to set me up a place to set my coffee pot. Because I'd like to get the day started off with coffee. Just a matter of choice, I guess. Now, my wife, Ruth, she was a tea drinker. And they all came, they all came from Europe, and they loved their tea. They didn't get into America until the late 1800s. Her family didn't come to America until like just before the turn of the century. Their family came through Ellis Island, and ours came over. Our family came over on slave ships. We were what they call indentured slaves. Over in Europe, they sold their family into bondage so they could come to the New World, and they came to North Carolina, South Carolina, and slowly migrated down through the fourth colony, and they ended up in Alabama. All of them had the same color eyes. That whole tribe. Until my family came together. My mother had 10 kids altogether, and she had a little brown-eyed girl, and that was Joyce. My daddy had an aunt. We called her Aunt Sally. My daddy's aunt, our great aunt, she had brown eyes. Everybody loved Aunt Sally. We lived with Aunt Sally. She had a big house, and at one time we'd moved over there. That's when I was in the sixth grade of school at Aunt Sally's place. Down on the river, man, it was paradise. We had a river to swim in. We had a swing. My sister, she could tell you, she went off that swing as well. We would take her all the way up to the top and would hold her by her little body and let her go, and she'd go way out there and then drop into the river. The river is swift, and it would wash her away. When she get down in the rocks down there, she could get out. We had a ladder up on the bank, and then her little legs are too short to go all the way to. She could only go up on the first step. So some of the bigger kids would take her all the way to the top and hold her up and let her go, and she'd go flying out through there. And we told her, you got to let go. You know, if you come back, you go, I could have hit the tree. I don't think she ever did hit the tree. She always let go. The water was deep and swift and snaky. That creek's name was 5 Mile Creek, and it's still flowing today, even though there's a lot of houses built around it, and it's changed a lot over the years. It's still flowing pretty freely. Yeah, I wish they had it where we could have somebody, a guest on here, so we can get their point of view about anything. And typing it puts everybody in the hard position of having to type, and a lot of people don't mind that at all because they type with their thumbs. They got their little phone here. They can just do that, thing with their thumbs and everything. When you get 85 years of age, you don't have the dexterity to move your thumbs around as good as they can. So I have to type on the keyboard over there. This screen I'm looking at it is a 32-inch curved Samsung, and it makes the writing and everything so easy to read on it. When they can, when they're scrolling over, when you got a lot of people over there in the chat area, um, it makes it easier for you to glance over and read. I'm about. Let me see from my head. I think I've done this before. I'm 48 inches, exactly 4 feet over to the screen. Yeah, the screen is 4 feet over there. Well, let me see. It's already after 6 over in Georgia. Yeah, I saw it was in the 80s down in Florida yesterday. So the camp outs, they're going to have some good weather. I'm hoping to do. And the bike week, that's always exciting. Well, we don't have a whole lot planned up in this cold. Once we get February out of here, um, we're on the 12th now. We're almost approaching the halfway mark. Once we get February out of the way, then we're going to have the violence of spring. Living in the southeast, the spring can be very violent, and with the tornadoes, and then it'll be into hurricane season. They still have not called me from the Harley shop if they got me a seat. Well, I give them Pacific, the kind of seat that I want, and I went over on the Leatherman channel, and they out of order, not in stock, not in stock. But I think there was some kind of a shortage on leather. There was something about the leather. I don't know what that's about. They've got a lot of seats, but if your seed is specific in what you want, then they have to make it for you. And everything's made in America. It's not made somewhere else and then shipped in. Well, Ray, Motorbomb, Virginia, I'm sure he's probably getting up and getting ready to get his breakfast because, yeah, he has to go to work, or unless he's on vacation. He was off. He was with his grandkids yesterday. Maybe he took him to work with him. I don't know. Yeah, our Amish community is about 44 miles from here, and they uh, they really have a lot of good stuff up there. They got a bakery to die for. We go to the bakery. Oh, buddy, we buy all of our bacon there. They make the hogs are raised there on the farm, processed, and we buy the pepper bacon, pepper bacon from the Amish people there, and it's so good. Big thick slices, and they know when to kill hogs too. They don't haphazardly kill them. They know what season of the year to kill them and to make the meat lay down really good in the skillet where it don't just curl up, swivel up. I hate that old. I just really dislike that old swivel up bacon. You throw it in there and it just curl up and roll up on like a coil spring, you know. Yeah, hump day. It was always a good time of the week to be in. When you work, you know you've pretty well got half of your weekend, and it's just that far away from the weekend. That's where the fun is at. I'm gonna tell you what. If you work with a company that pays you really good money, where you really have a lot of income coming in, it don't do you no good unless you're spending it. And you gotta be able to go out and enjoy yourself on the weekend. Take that big old boat that you went out and bought, or take that street rod out and go cruise the streets, or get on your bike and go for a ride and go up in the mountains or whatever. But you look forward to that weekend so you can spend some of that cabbage. And then of course there's wise people that just they don't ever spend anything, they just put it away in the bank for a bad day. I was never I was never smart enough to do that. I like to live like there's no tomorrow. And we're seeing that becoming more of a reality. Yeah, my sister said it's 24 degrees Fahrenheit there in Kent, Washington, and they just had a long winter. We went up there in November, and it was winter, and we didn't come back until like mid-December, and it was still winter, and the winter just got harder. snow and ice, freezing weather, but spring will be just around the corner. Just for just to see if she left her phone. Oh, let's see if she left her phone on.
Hey, it's Angelique. Sorry I missed your call. I'll call you back when I can. Thanks. Bye.
At the tone, please record your message.
She'll come dribbling in here in the next hour. I try to talk her into get up and come in and join me in here in the mornings and get on here. And nah, she's in sleep world. But y'all remember what it was like when you was young. Sleeping is one of the things that you really enjoy. Young people enjoy their sleeping. Older people, we just almost never have no sleep. Yes, I do. I need that cup of coffee. But all good things will come in time. Yeah, we're going to leave out pretty early this morning and go over there and get her water. She's got a list of things that she wants to get. And we was at the store yesterday, but she wanted to go over to another store to get her water. She has a preference, the kind of water she likes and the brand that she drinks. We all drink. Purified water. Got a bottle of water here. That first cup is the best cup. You know, um, you've been in bed, you get up, you get that cup of coffee, and you put your hands around it, and you feel the warmth from the cup. I've really got some good cups I've collected over the years um, in different places we lived in, and family members gave us a cup. My wife bought me a big green cup from Starbucks in Seattle, Washington. She bought it at Starbucks, and it's a big ceramic cup like it. It holds like 3 cups of coffee, and that's a get it. Yeah, we've had them before, but it was always in the kitchen. But I'm gonna get one and set it up in here. I don't go over on that end of the house except when I'm cooking. And Angelique goes up there and she will go and get in the living room and she'll watch TV up in the front over there because she's watching. She can look out the front window, got a big bay window, and she can see when the mailman comes. The mailman's up about 200 feet up there to the road, and when she sees the mail car, then she'll trot out there and go get her mail. She's always got packages coming in. She lives on the internet. She she's buying and selling, not selling, buying and taking delivery. Every once in a while, I get a notice a package is coming in the mail, and it'll be, of course, something that she's ordered. Yeah, Keurig, I believe is the last one we had was Keurig, and it had the little cups of coffee. You just put the little thing in there, and it'd make you one. Yeah, they're all cut from the same mold, like cookie cutter. Women have a lot of the same traits. Oh, oh yeah. And this is one of them Keurigs where you pull up that little deal and you put your little cup in there and you pull that down and put your cup under there and it's got a reservoir of water back there and it squirts you a cup of coffee out and you're good to go. You can choose a large cup or a small or medium cup. You got three sizes, and once you set it up, it puts out the same cup every time. And sometimes I put a little French vanilla in it or one of those sweeter like milk. So I don't put sugar in my coffee, but I will put French vanilla in it, which is sweet. But lately we've been doing half and half, which is not as sweet, but it's better for you. I have drank coffees straight black. It's a matter of what you need out of the coffee. If I want the pleasure and comfort, I like my coffee having a little cream in it. But if I need it for the impact to get my heart going good, I'll drink it straight black to get the stimulant. My mother, for years, had a kettle, a big pot that she made the coffee in for the family. And the way she made it, she had there at the stove a 3 pound can of Louisiana coffee with chicory. And she'd get a handful of grounds and she'd throw them in the top of that pot. When the grounds sank to the bottom, the spout had a strainer over it and it would keep the grounds, coffee grounds in, and she'd pour you a cup of coffee and it was black, let me tell you. Yeah, we was right there where the coffee things were. I talk about this all the time. Mud, yeah. Oh, when we was young, Dave, a cup of coffee was normally 10 cents for a cup of coffee. And here's the deal: it wasn't just for a single cup of coffee. When you paid the 10 cents, you'd get refills. And look at it today. There's people paying more than $5 a cup. I know Angelique and Ruth both. They'd go up there to the coffee place up there, and they would buy all them Grandy Mokies and super sloppers and super scoopers and all that other. You had to have a chart to read off all the stuff you needed. Almond milk. Oh yeah, you go to a cafe. You don't. They don't. Rarely. Now, if you go to the Waffle House, they will come back and offer you another cup of coffee, but they don't. They don't come around as often as they used to. They used to be always when a girl would walk by and she had a pot, she says, can I top you off? And she'd pour one. But now they won't come back. And now here in America, it's 50 cents a co-charge for the eggs. You got to, for each egg, 50 cents more than if it says egg and bacon for $10, you're going to end up about $14 time you get through. And we used to eat in Birmingham over there at lunch, blue plate special, 58 cents for lunch. And you just got one plate of food. It had, usually a Swiss steak or steak and gravy, or maybe liver and onions, or maybe it had pork chops and gravy and mashed potatoes and maybe green beans or something. 58 cents. But we could get a loaf of bread for 10 cents. Times are different. But during that period of time, people say, I'd like to go back to those times. No, hell no, you would not want to go back to those times. I'm going to tell you why. I made $26 a week. That $26 a week, and that was for 5.5 days of work for $26. That was in the 40s and 50s. $26 a week. You go to a bar now and you leave a $20 tip or more just for somebody bringing you a drink over, and give them a $20 tip. $14 for the drink and a $20 tip. We made $26 a week. I'm going to tell you what we did with that $26. Everybody loves their mama, but my mama always wanted a Bulova watch. So I went to Kay's Jewelry in Birmingham, and all the time I was working, I'd go over and make payments. You couldn't get it till it's paid off, and I bought my mama a Bulova watch. She loved that Bulova. It was a kind of like a status thing. It's kind of like the people today has to have them high-dollar watches, you know. But she always wanted a Bulova, and I bought her one. I also bought myself a car. I bought me a car while earning $26 a week. I found a car I wanted, and I paid it off. Every week I had to go pay on it, and I couldn't get it until it was paid off. A coffee pill. Oh, yeah. Or how about just like a stick-on, you know, you want a cup of coffee, you just peel this thing off and put it on the back of your hand. Like now you can get your insulin in a stick-on insulin, you know, and you just put that little stick on, and when you get through, you just peel it off and you're good to go. You got your coffee. Just, yeah. I think the warmness of the coffee in your mouth and the flavor buds in your mouth, the feeling you get when you get that warm coffee in your mouth. Yeah, nicotine patch. Yeah, they can do that with coffee, you know. Um, they got one called the vagina, and you just put it on your arm and, oh yeah, uh-huh, yeah, baby, uh-huh, yeah. Well, you peel it off. So I can't take much more of that. I'm too old for that kind of action. Yeah, you got a patch for everything, you know. Yeah, yeah, we call that Remoto if you get a poontang patch. I'll take a half a dozen of those poontang patches. I want the Asians, yeah, the Asian poontang. Yeah, get a 6-pack of Asian poontang patches. Yeah, I want something that's got some excitement to it. There's the Hispanic, you know. It actually is, when you put it on your arm, it has embedded music. You know, got the movements. I was watching over in Thailand last night before I went to bed. Yeah. Ginger. Yeah, ginger. That's what they call them, redheaded gingers. Yeah, I'll take 2 ginger poontains patches, and the way before you can apply them, the instruction is on that one side. It says lick here, and then you stick it on. Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah. Just think of the possibilities when it comes to putting patches on, you know. Well, I'm hoping that helped you in the brighten your spirit up there, Ray, are you having a bad day, or was you having a bad day? I'm hoping you're having a good one now. Ooh, all right. Well, it's a way of life. When you get up in my age category, you begin to see a lot of that, and you see more and more of it. But that's just the way, that's just the way it has always been. It'd be nice if way it worked is instead of dying, you could go get on the train, and you'd get a signal. It was your time to go get on the train. All aboard! You go, well, I got to go get on the train. And, once you got on the train, you just rode off into the sunset. Yeah, I think when we're young, we experienced the agony of death, and it sticks with you. 6 o'clock, straight up and down. In the old days, Ray, I'm speaking of my old days would be in the 40s. When a member of your family died in the 40s, especially an elderly member, they would they would take them out that morning, process them, and bring them back, and they would be laid out for everybody to see. Now, in my mama's day, during her period of time, they would take a door off the house, and they didn't take them out and process them. They would take a door off the house, and they would lay you on the door, and the women in the family, they would wash the body and prepare it and put a sheet on it, and you would lay there for a viewing, and then you'd have a wake. All your descendants, all your family members gather up, and there'd be a lot of food cooked, and there'd be a lot of drinks. It was a celebration of life, and you drank and had a wake. A real genuine wake would be consistent of alcoholic beverages, lots of food. You wasn't forced to drink alcohol, but if you chose to do so, most people would have a drink in remembrance of their departed ones. And then they started having viewings up at the funeral home. You'd have to go up there to the funeral home. But we came up during the time when you had body viewings at home. That's the way it was supposed to be. So as little kids, we'd go up there and they'd be, and we get double dog dare to touch your hands, because in the old days they'd lay your hands, they'd cross your hands, cross like this, or however they wanted to shape your hands, and your buddy would double dog dare you to go touch your great aunt as she lays up there, and you reach over and touch that cold hand. Oh my God, it's a scary feeling. Well, you made it to your 44. Well, that's a milestone right there. Every day when I put my feet on the floor over there, I always thank God, because He allowed me to have another day. I find myself thanking God during the day quite a bit. More as a bike rider, you're always so close with God. You see somebody pull, first thing you might say, "You mother," you might say something like that to the person that pulls out from the side road right in front of you, and you might like this, and you go, "Oh, thank God. Thank God my eyesight was good enough. I spotted it just in time to be able to get the brakes on." In your videos, when I see you on the screen, you look healthy, Ray. You don't look shallow-eyed or nothing like that. You look like you're a very healthy person. Yeah, I think when you're riding, you're going to find yourself more in the more apt to say a prayer while riding. Try not to lose your temper as much. Yeah, looks are deceiving. Uh, they can be very deceiving. One time somebody asked me, they said, how come the South has so many churches? Because you come to a southern town, you got a church almost on every corner, up on the hill, big cemeteries. South has churches everywhere. I said, well, you might be kicking your dog and cussing your wife and drinking your beer, but when that storm comes, you tend to look to the sky and ask for forgiveness. And if you didn't get killed, you'd go back to the bar and you'd kick your dog and cuss your wife, and life would be good until the next storm, which is just around the corner. There's always going to be another storm in the southeast, another hurricane, nor another tornado, and you have little towns over here that everybody gets killed in. You go, oh man, and you start praying for those people, and you say, thank you, God, for sparing my family, and and then you go back drinking your drink and smoking your cigars and cussing your wife and kicking your dog, and life goes on. Um, yeah, you're brought to your knees here in so many ways. If you survive another tornado season, if you survive the heat wave, if you survive the hurricanes. Now, on the other part of the world, people that live where there's volcanoes, the volcano could blow any minute. There could be an earthquake, and but earthquake maybe every few years. In the southeast, a storm is certain. You ain't going to get through a year without a storm. That's going to take a life, maybe take several lives. So you tend to find yourself asking for forgiveness more often, I think, than any place else. Truck drivers that drives over the road, they'll get on the radio and become Rambo radio. They cuss everything and everybody and all that kind of stuff. But they thank God when they're driving down the road that they was able to deliver the load safely without harming or killing anybody that day, without being killed yourself, crushed with a load or whatever. So truck drivers are usually close to God. It's a mixed emotional world with the truck drivers. The anger of traffic, the four wheelers, your dispatcher, your courier, your everything, your rig sometimes makes you cuss. I had a Freightliner that they sent me to Montgomery, Alabama. It was already loaded in the yard, so I took the Freightliner and headed out. And I got down to Verbena, exit 200 on I-65, and the engine shut off. And I saw the exit, and I took the exit real fast and went over to the Shell station. And I called in. I said, "Hey, my engine's dead." And I said, "It just died while I was going down the road." So we began to do some, on these new modern diesel rigs, you got all kinds of, you can run through your processor and see what kind of error codes, what caused it to shut down. And well, I tried it and it started right back up. Drove down to Montgomery, got my load off, got about halfway back to Birmingham, and it shut off again. But I was able to get it started back up in a few minutes. And so he told me, he said, it's under warranty. Take it to Freightliner. So I took my rig over to Freightliner. The guy plugs in his laptop and he tells me, he said, here's your history. There's under the throttle. So you don't have a cable that runs out there to the engine. You got electronics. There's a little sensor down there, and that little sensor had failed. And it had failed 180 times in about a year's period of time. So I go back up. He wrote a report, and he replaced the sensor, and everything was good. So I go back up there, and I showed him, the owner of the company, 180 failures in that system, and not once in your logbook. Under the law, the way it works, any mechanical problems, you write it, you make a notation in your logbook. That's the way it was when you kept real logbooks. And you also had to turn in an incident report when you came into to HR. Had to go, an incident report had to go in like an engine failure or whatever. Oh, I'm glad you're still here. You got to take care of business first, Tuggo. We just ramble along. And he went back there and he put that note on the bulletin board, and he wrote a great big old thing up there, the list of names of drivers that had drove that truck. And he brought them all in there, and I was sitting in there. And oh yeah, I remember one time it stopped up there in Baltimore, and I didn't think much about it, but it started right back up and never had a problem after that. Oh yeah, I was in Carlisle, Wyoming, and it stopped. And but it was a small incident, They never wrote a report on it. And boy, he was just upset that he could have 180 engine failures because that switch had went bad, and it was a little inexpensive switch. He put that new switch in there, and well, what happened there is where the switch was located. If you worked up there where there's a lot of snow, you get in and out of your truck, and you got your boots on, you got a lot of snow, and if you're in an area where there's a lot of salt on the road, that salt would corrode the little connectors and whatever, and as the water built up in your floorboard. That truck had some mileage. I think that truck had, when I was driving it, 300,000 or 400,000 miles on it. That ain't a lot of miles, but that pedal had been pushed a lot. I was coming up Big Walker Mountain up in West Virginia on I-77, I believe it is. It's I-71, 77, I think. I was coming up. I was going south on the interstate, climbing up, and I just went into seventh gear. Oh yeah, I was in seventh, and while pulling heavy going up that ridge, all of a sudden it went boom, like it jumped into neutral. And I kept trying to put it back in the hole, put it back in the. So finally, I had to go down a gear. I blowed the seventh gear. It took something off the cluster gear or something other, and didn't have no seventh gear. I could shift past it. It was a dual gated transmission. I could shift past it, but that seventh gear was a working gear, the one that you used a lot. At least I did. But that was what an eye opener, buddy. Just be climbing up that thing, and all of a sudden, boom, just jerky like that. When you got under a full throttle and you're pulling that old engine, I think back in them days they only had like 390 horsepower. The engines had a lot more horse, but our trucks only had like 390 horse or 430 or something like that. Yeah, 430 a lot of times. But when you get that thing pulling and that gear lets loose like that, buddy, it's an eye opener. Yeah, I went to West Virginia to Leawood, West Virginia, to a mining place, and I had to go down this long grade, and over at the Freightliner they'd put all new brake shoes on, brake the brake shoes, and it was a new composition material because it was cheaper, and the company said, yeah, let's try that. And the guy told me, he said, I think your truck's on fire. I was over there filling out paperwork. I looked over my shoulder. I see above the flatbed that smoke was just really standing up back in the back, And I told him no. I said that's in brake shoes. I said I had a guy to stop me to tell me that he thought the back end of my truck was on fire because every time I touched them brakes, smoke would come boiling off. And so when we got back to Birmingham, the guy said, no, they have to seat in and this kind of stuff. And the owner of the company said, no, put Ray Asbestos, I believe it was, the right ones on there. And so they put me a new set of shoes, took all the smoke away. And there's some hills in Virginia. If you've ever done any trucking up there, you'll find at Big Walker Mountain, that's a long grade up through there too. A lot of runaway trucks. But I've done all the big, and while I was trucking, I did Cabbage Patch. I did Dead Man. I did Lookout Pass, Dead Man. I did Wolf Creek Pass. I did Wolf Creek Pass hauling Caterpillar parts, heavy steel. I used to haul these V12 Caterpillars for mining. They would buy these V12 dual turbocharged V12 Cat engines, and I would haul them out for them to replace these mining engines. Most time the V12 was a big stationary engine that used for running hydraulics or something, because you had hydraulics that ran everything, and they would lift the coal. They put these jacks to lift the coal up, so that the roof wouldn't cave in. There's a certain kind of mining where you had to shore up the roof, and they did it with hydraulic jacks. Yeah, we worked on some big farms out in California, driving a lot of big tractors. I love driving farm implements, the big ones. Um, and they make a lot of horsepower, a lot of drawbar power. My brother and I used to drive these Caterpillar tractors, land leveling, and he was a pusher cat. He would take his blade and push us through the cuts. Man, I love that work we did. It was so much fun. You had to be able to read your sticks, when they would set up these cuts and these grades that you're working on. The land may have a 3-degree slope on it, and you had to read the sticks. The surveyors would set up your sticks, and long, monotonous work. You know, the machine did all the work, but you had to sit up there and run the thing, you know. I worked for a company up in Daisy City, Alabama, that he had a big Army 6x6 Army vehicle that had a big winch and everything on it and had a boom on the back. And he used it for lifting up like put rails back on, you know, rail cars, put them back on the rails. And this thing is heavy tonnage. It would lift a lot of tons. One time, the Catholic Church had hired my company to put a Mary on a statue of Mary on a platform out there about 6 or 8 feet off the ground. And so we had to pick Mary up. She was crated up and put her straps on her. And I had an issue with my winch. When you had gears that drove the winch, a PTO shaft would run the gearbox, and you had to pull a clutch, and you had to put it in the gear. There was a place where it would drop down. You know, it would be like freewheel just for a second, just a quick drop down. It had to be really fast. And I remember I got the thing all picked up, and I was getting ready to make to lower it down. They had these bolts all lined up down there on the pad. When I went to put that thing so I could go into forward gear, so I could unspool it. That thing dropped about a foot. Oh, that deacon or father, he was boy, you ought to seen he was like terrorized, because that thing was going to be a lot of money for that marble statue of Mary. But we got it down, and they got their bolts in, and he was so happy that I didn't break his statue. He came up later up there to the company, and he paid for having the work done, and he gave me a good compliment. He told the boss that I did good, and I'd already told the boss about it dropping. You know, there's supposed to be a brake and hold it, but it was all had been wore out years ago. But I had real fast reflexes back in those days, and I caught it before it hit. Made the front end of the truck rear up and down like that a little bit, you know. Yeah, we use that old 6x6 and so many applications. Laying these big 6-foot diameter concrete pipes down into the ground. You know, you'd have to strap them up and lower them down into the ground. They was putting a big water system to drain the mines. Water in the South is always the issue. Our mines, all of our coal mines here in the South, is wet. There's always water in the mines. Old alum water, undrinkable. Toga, I'm starting to get hungry myself. A little hungry, a little want some coffee. We watched a movie last night. It's supposed to have been a comedy, but it ended up being more of a romantic type movie. And this guy had a complicated life. You know, he had so many women on the line, and he loved every one of them to a certain extent. and they all was out to try to capture him, and his job was to try to avoid being captured. And then he fell in love with like 3 or 4 different women. In fact, he bought a ring for different ones, and every time he went over to take the ring, this is going to be the day he's going to propose to this woman to be married to her. She had already decided to move on with somebody else because he was moving way too slow. Oh, I not till she gets up. When she gets up, I think I'm gonna have donuts and coffee. Good way to start the day. Donuts and coffee. Yeah, it's 6:25 Central Standard Time here where I'm at, and we usually don't eat until around 8 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, these are glazed donuts, Dunkin' Donuts. Yeah, she's going to want to go out and let's do our shopping early today, get it over with, because I'm making meatloaf and cheese and rice, and a vegetable to go with that. Might even have a salad. So I've already got my lunch planned up for the day. We got a little cold snap coming. After today, it's going to get cold. Yeah, I do a lot of. I like to go and look at other countries, the rural people. How they eat. I watch these Mongolian people. This guy went and lived with these Mongolian people in these little round houses. They got a name for them. The little round houses they live in, and to watch the food and how they prep their food and everything. And also I went down in the Andes mountains and watched some of those ladies fix food way up in the Andes there in Peru and places like that. Watch them fixing dishes. Right now, Itchy Boots is in Saudi Arabia. She's a bike rider. She rides all around the world. She did Turkey last year. She finished up in Turkey. She got over and went from Turkey over to Iran, Iraq, and then through Kuwait. Now she's in Saudi Arabia. She just got into Saudi Arabia. She's her first day in the desert was Sunday, and she'll put out another video today. I think we see another video today. But boy, I mean, you talking about an energetic person, and she speaks so many different languages. I guess if you learn Farsi is like a universal language of common words amongst the Arab world. And from what I'm gathering, I don't know, but she has common words that she can use and they can converse. And then they'll also revert to French. She speaks fluent French, and she speaks Spanish, and she's from Holland, so she speaks Dutch. She's just and her great. Her English is just impeccable. Yeah, I think next video coming up, she's going to be riding in the dunes of Saudi Arabia. And she tries to observe all the customs, of the different lands. And when she was in Iran, she had to have her head covered. But in Iraq, she didn't have to have her head covered. And I believe in Turkey, it was an option where she did or did not have to. But she observed whatever the customs were. And she was really treated good in Turkey. In fact, I think she enjoyed all the old ancient villages that she went to, date back, thousands of years. If you go into a country with a perceived notion about the country, instead of being open-minded and observing the customs of that country, you're going to try to force them to come to your way of thinking. Well, you're not going to have an enjoyable trip. No, we got ducks flying over. They're they're all heading north. Yep, they're heading north right now. There's a big lake across the road from me, and that thing gets filled up with these Canadian honkers. And when they start flying north, they'll migrate all the way through the spring back towards the north. And they fly right over my house, just a squawking. Oh, I'm going to tell you about Iran. She was really treated good in Iran. But when she got in Iraq, she avoided Iraq, but she did go to the place where she went into Iraq only just through the corners of Iraq. And to avoid these issues, she stayed in the Kurdish region. She went in and out between Iran, Iraq, but stayed in Kurdish-held territories of Iraq, and and they really treated her nice there. But when she went over into Iraq, they did not treat her as well as had been treated. What I'm saying is they was really rude in a lot of ways. There was a lot of hostility because they took her for being an American, and she had to always keep saying Dutch. She introduced herself, being from Holland. She always uses a country Holland, but she's from the Netherlands, and yeah, she worked. She was very careful there when she was in Iraq, but she went out to the place where Saddam Hussein's some of his palaces he had built, spent billions of dollars building palaces, and she went to the place where he was captured when he was hiding down in the spider hole in the ground, and also she went to the place where his palace, and it's written graffiti all over everything, and uh, but now she's safely had gotten herself into. When she got to Kuwait, she had a good time in Kuwait. Now, when she got to Iran, they stole her motorcycle in Iran, and they cut all the wires, and she had to, for all the way till she got to Kuwait, she had to kickstart her bike. When she got into Kuwait, she was able to buy a whole new wiring system and fix it where she could start it with a key and all that stuff. It had a battery, but she could only jump start it. She had to tie the wires together and all that stuff. But she got all the new wiring and everything put on in Kuwait. She's riding a rather old, I think it's like a 1987 model motorcycle she's riding. They built it for her. It's like an enduro desert bike, that can handle extreme. It might be KLM. I don't remember the model of it. It might be a KLM, but it seems to run really good. She is a brave person. She was in Russia, and they wasn't kind to her in Russia either. Um, then she was down in the southern portion of Africa, and they took everything away from her, basically robbed her. The military police in that whatever the country that she was in Africa, they robbed her. I saw that series. And then down in South America, between South America and Central America, there's a little region down there that is so hazardous. She was taken hostage by the government at gunpoint. I made her stay 20 something hours till they could sort out why she was in that area. Now, riding around the world is not an easy thing to do, especially when you're blonde and blue eyed. But she don't have a support team. She has friends all around the world, but she doesn't have a crew that's with her. She's by herself, solo. She was somewhere up in Europe, somewhere in Europe there. She camped in this forest. And after she got packed up and everything, she met some of these local people, and they told her how dangerous her life was. There's a bear, not a bear. I mean, it's just lots of bears. She saw a lot of them. She took pictures of them, and she slept in a tent with all these bears around. She said she had a can of bear spray. She's run across a lot of dangerous animals when she was riding through Africa. She was up on the Serengeti plains and run across cobra snakes and wild cats, big old killer looking cats. She rode in the Amazon jungle in South America, and it rained all the time, and that's when COVID hit. And then she had to stay. She was, I believe, in Argentina at that time when the COVID hit, and they took her motorcycle away from her and deported her out of the country back to the Netherlands. The government of Holland sent an airplane and picked her up. She was kind of like held a prisoner there for quite a long time, and they got her freed and got her back to the Netherlands. She had to wait it out for 2 years. Yeah, yeah, being a gringo, man. Um, Yeah, if your skin is not in exactly the right color, it can make a difference in where you're at. Well, I think the Turk people, it seemed from my eyes and ears and from what I know, always came off as, yeah, I understood you meant white. Um, they come off as independent, proud people. They're not like, you know, their desire to grow up and strap a bomb on themselves and go in and kill everybody around. You don't have um, that culture to have to worry about. And and I'm sure there's in any country you're going to find people that's fanatical about almost on any subject. But the Turks appear to be very stable. Um, Most of the things that we know about the Turks is what we've seen in movies. You know, that what was that Midnight Express? Wasn't it? That was the one that made people so afraid of the Turk people. Like ended up in a Turkish prison. For hauling drugs. And yeah, that movie Midnight Express. That same way with the people of Alabama. They have that stigma hanging over their heads as being um, they like them young boys. If you're a tourist and you come through on the river in a canoe, like Deliverance, that's got people terrorized. They go, I ain't never going to the South because I don't want that old boy to tell me I got a pretty mouth. Do you remember the movie Deliverance? Yeah, yes. Look how many wars have been fought over religion, and anybody can take anything to the extreme, and you find a lot of extremists always have religious ties, and it's a scary thing. Think that the car next to you might have 30 pounds of dynamite in there, going to blow up themselves and the car and everybody around them. It's hard to deal with that kind of mentality. I think I've told you one time my uncles them when they was fighting with the British in World War II, they fought with the Turks. Now the British and the Turkish people have a history, and like of course with the British they have a history with every race in the world, every nation, because they were conquering people. They went around and they conquered a lot and had an empire, the British Empire, and you know the history of that. Um, yeah, they uh, having English ancestry. All we heard was all the old stories, but people won't take the time to actually look at the actuality of the people rather than the political or religious ideas that you think of when it comes to other religions. And my uncle, they really had nothing but great regards for the Turkish fighter. They used the Turks were known as the terrible Turks. My uncle said cut you, they would cut you, they would cut you fast, they would cut you deep, and also they would cut you unnecessary. In other words, they didn't have to have a reason. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ain't it odd how you can have your differences, but when you need those people to help you save your own society, you'll call on those people to yeah, unnecessary. I like that. He had that saying all the time. He would talk about they would crawl into these trenches and go up there and slit the Germans' throats, and they wouldn't even know. And once the Germans found out there was Turks in in the regiment, they would flee. Same way when you remember when they had the little uprising down in South America when the Brits went down there. Argentina had moved in on their island, Falkland, the Falkland Islands. Well, they sent the British. The British went down, but they took some Turks with them. And this is like I got this from reliable sources. When the Argentine soldier, you remember this now? There's a lot of Germans living in Argentina. When the Argentine soldiers found out that there was Turks that's going to be coming ashore, they fled like rats jumping off of a ship because they knew they was going to get stuck like a pig. No, that's the reason you can walk. You can walk regardless of your skin color. You can walk into any place with your shoulders held back. You have this perceived notion about the Turkish fighter and the Turkish mentality. That you hold your own. Just ask the British. just just ask the British if the Turks are good fighters. I don't even like to think about being a good fighter because governments tend to use their blood of the young people to achieve their goals, and it's usually the soldier that pays his price for every advancement you make in civilization. That advancement has been paid for by the blood of the youth of that nation, regardless if it's young Turks or if it's young Brits or young Americans, young Asian fighters. Imagine this. Can you imagine living in Vietnam when the strongest, most powerful army in the world come to your neighborhood, came into your country, and you had to fight a guerrilla type war against the most powerful army in the world? That had to be, those people, you got to say hats off to you, because I know this in my state of Alabama. If there was ever a government ever decided to make a land invasion, to say land thousands of troops on the Gulf of Mexico or over on the Atlantic side, when they made it to Alabama, their forward marching would be slowed because each and every one of us living here has the ability to be a terrorist. Um, yeah, it would be a tough thing. Our people here in this region has that mentality that like we'll sacrifice everybody if we have to achieve whatever has to be done. And everybody's got guns. Can shoot. It would be tough for an army on foot. I ain't talking about if they nuke us, that's something different. But man on man, it would be tough to take Alabama. Yep, nonsense is a good way of describing it. Peace, man. I remember in this country right here when young people stood up and said peace. And what we did, we shot them down on the ground. We killed them. The leaders of our country gave the order to fire on young college students because they said, hell no, we won't go. Hell no, we won't go. Hell no, we won't go. And they weren't cowards. They just simply wanted to see that there was a song, why not give peace a chance? And they put them belittling names, damn beatnik and hippie freaks and long haired freaks. But it was all in the name of peace. We're our society it's a lot easier to rile us up and provoke us into war than ever to reach over and shake hands or to hug. Oh, that's just hard to do. Bring yourself to appreciate another human being, share compassion. And you look at almost any modern society that has a government that has an ambition of taking other lands and stuff like that. They know they're going to be able to use the young people, and they count on them. But when the young people says hell no, they don't know what to do. They go, well, the only thing you do is shoot them. When they say no, we ain't go, we'll just shoot them. But that didn't work out good for them. Yep. I just I really I like peace. There's nothing wrong. I spent 22 years of my years of employment putting ICBMs in the ground, and that is a deterrent. And we've never had to use any of my weapons. The weapons of war, when they cut them dogs loose, uh, the world changes. We never had to do that, and I hope we never do. But that's like building a fort. You build that fort to add security in a region. And we build our ICBMs to make sure that America would be safe from any aggressor, that we could launch out 5,000 or 6,000 miles worth of things, reach out and touch somebody. And we've never had to do it. But we don't want to get involved in ourselves provoking a war and then blame other people for it. I've seen that happen a lot, where we provoke young people. Was told about Southeast Asia, we're going to stop the spread of communism, but yet the Communist Party was flourishing in America at that time. It was a legitimate political party, but we were going 6,000 miles away to eradicate the communists. And they was in the White House. They was in amongst us. Yeah, you can work people up into a state of violence over almost anything. Well, I'm gonna give it 7 more minutes. I'm gonna get off at 7 because see that's 8 o'clock East Coast time, and the boys are gonna be doing their coffee thing here pretty soon. I think they started about. They may be already started. I don't know. I haven't seen any of them. I haven't seen Sick or any of those guys. They probably getting their everything set up for the coffee. Yeah, that's really something. When you run a campaign of eradicating communism and you got political people that's in the Communist Party. And uh, yeah, I'm gonna be on for another 7 minutes, I guess. I'll end it on the hour. Yeah, I've got 6 more minutes. I'll end it at 7 o'clock. And anybody have any last words or would like to add to our conversation? There's nobody ever gets chastised on anything they say on my channel. Um, I mean, I don't do the hate thing, I wouldn't want somebody to come on and just start spewing political propaganda, political rhetoric, because leave that to the politician. I hate to see a common person that has limited education, has almost no political experience, and they take on a position and they'll go on and talk about things they have very little understanding about. Yeah, but we're working on it. We're gonna be able to tax your laughter, because see, if you start laughing, we know you're not serious, and we want to keep you serious. The only way I can get into your wallet is have you serious enough to listen to me. You'd have to take me seriously. If you listen to me, I might be able to sway you into something. That's a political guy that really needs you more than you need him, and taxing. Yeah, this tax thing is it might be the death of a nation. My mother told me about the Big Depression, the Great Depression. Dad never talked about it much, but Mother did, and we hope to never see anything like that ever in America again. We have so much here in this country, and it's fine to help out other people in other nations, but we got to help America out. Get us a healthcare system. Get us a place where our soldiers can go and lay down and be safe at night. Get a real genuine Veterans Administration that cares for the wounded, not only the physical damage to a soldier, but the mental. There's more soldiers come home mentally destroyed, and they don't show up that day or next week, but it might be 3 years from now when it starts to come home. And we got to have a system where people's mental stability has been worked on, where they can get them back, not only where they're going to be a good, productive citizen, but also mentally stable to be able to have a family relationship without harming your spouse, without being abusive to your children, about not being abusive to your fellow workers. This all comes from the trauma of war, the atrocities of war. Yeah, but the problem is, if you got the laugh-o-meter, got the old laugh-o-meter installed, you went up there and it's a local procedure. You go in, they got a little gun, they shoot it right in under your skin there, and the laugh-o-meter. But the problem is, it would be taxed. There would be some kind of a taxing on it, so that you wouldn't be able to bust loose a gut laugh. You're like, oh, I've got 3 more lives left this month. I got to get them in before the first of the month. It would be organized. Oh, I see the little sweet nugget. She just came in here. Got the good dogs leash to take the dog for a walk. So I got coffee coming. Well, we're down to the last minute. I've enjoyed it this morning. I gave you 3 hours. You had a chance to take a shot at Old Mac for 3 long hours. 3 hours and 1 minute now. See, I'm already over that. The whistle's going to go. I'm going to keep talking till the whistle goes off here. It's fixing to come up on the old train coming in here. One thing for sure, they're all steam trains. My train never changes. All right, just rolled over there. Let's see. I think I'm off about 15 seconds. You ain't gonna believe it. You ain't gonna believe this. The clock stopped just 15 seconds away from the hour. There it is. It's oh. Well, you heard the train. You should have been on it. Because, see, I'm fixing to go the other direction. I'm taking the next train going the other direction. So, God bless you. Thank you. Couldn't done this without you. Love each and every one of you. And you go out and find somebody to love today and have a laugh with and enjoy the company of others. Try to make somebody else happy today. Shouldn't be no effort. Making somebody happy should be a natural thing. One thing to start the day off with a smile. Even if you have to force yourself, give somebody a smile today. God bless you.